Welcome back to Weaponized, here back with episode 12, and it has been a packed week of news leading up to next week's Nintendo Switch 2 reveal, and I'm so tired. I just have to say it.
It's been so busy, dude. It's been incredibly busy. We've had so much news, and this Nintendo Direct has just made it all even more overwhelming for us. It's just been way more overwhelming than we thought it was going to be. But, it's epic that we have so much news because that's our business, and that means that we get to get more clicks. We get to get more clicks.
Ideally, right?
Yeah,
In the ideal world. I mean, hey, goodness, like we put out today's Thursday. We put out almost 60 articles today.
Monstrous.
Man, I'm looking forward to that night time coming up here in a few hours. That's gonna be awesome.
Oh, sleeping.
But,
yeah, that's a thing that
sleeping.
exists.
That's what it's called. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But regardless, just dive right into it. So, Nintendo Direct this morning, pretty great showcase overall. I know a lot of people online were strangely upset by it, which is funny because I don't know what you expected. It's actually funny because I saw a lot of people, Nate the Hate being one of them, which, I really respect Nate and what he's done, and, the predictions he makes. But man, he had some pretty crappy predictions. He's like, there's going to be nothing here. No Metroid, no nothing. We got Prime 4. We got Tomodachi Life 2. We got Rhythm Heaven sequel. Like, that's a pretty good direct if you ask me.
Oh, I know. We even had a Pokemon update on a Nintendo Direct. Not a Pokemon Day or Pokemon Direct. That happens, but there's a lot here.
It's rare.
Yeah, it's rare for sure. Pokemon is so big, they have their own thing. So it's
100%.
it's a separate company. But mind you, this is a 36 something minute, direct, and there's tons of things here. Now, most of it I really don't care about personally, but this Raito remastered, I've never gave more of about a game than this one. I'm sorry, I can't be sarcastic. People were so geeked about this. I remember getting DMs like, "Oh my god, did you see this?" I'm like, I don't even know what this is.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to be the first to tell you, Atlas charging $50 for this remaster. What did we talk about last week? Atlas
greed.
only releases remasters and remakes.
They do. Flabbergasting that it's true. And they're just like, yeah, we have all these games that we've already released. Maybe we should have new people play them. Now, they may get a couple of new people, but I don't know what this is. Is this an action game?
Yeah, it's an action game. It's an action RPG. So here's kind of my look on it, right? This is a game that wasn't playable on modern platforms, so I think it's good to bring it over. But maybe it was just me and maybe it was just the bit rate of the stream. I haven't watched the actual trailer, but I was not impressed at all by the, quote unquote remaster side of things. It looked very similar to the original game, like pretty much 1-to-1.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure that there's going to be some touches here and there, but I'm definitely getting flashbacks to Nocturne's remaster. And I'm sitting here yeah, $50 at launch with a $65 digital edition seems like a big ask in my opinion.
Yeah, the textures look the same, and it's not because it's on Switch. We had Astral Chain. We've had better looking games in this style on the Switch.
Yeah. And it's not look, I'm not sitting here saying $50 is ridiculous and I'm judging the quality of this game, but I am telling you from what we've seen, I definitely have a high standard for remasters if I'm going to pay $50 or $60 for a game. And for $50 for a re-release of a game years old, you've got to add a little bit more than what you've shown to get me really interested, right? The good remasters I think about, right?
Kingdom Hearts.
These are two. Yeah. Kingdom Hearts were good. And I was going to say Xenoblade, right?
Right.
So you look at Xenoblade on the Wii, right? Xenoblade Chronicles, the first one, going to Nintendo Switch, complete UI overhaul, gorgeous new visuals. Everything looked amazing. And we also got that whole new story stuff. And I'm not saying that, that's the top of the line remaster. I'm not saying we need that, but I am saying it just feels like that this is a very lackluster in terms of effort port. And, I don't want to judge things before we get them, but at least from the trailer, I'm definitely underwhelmed and I would have hoped for a little bit more with this remaster.
Yeah, I agree. And, I'm just not impressed. I think it looks like the same thing, but just upscaled in like an emulator slightly. Um, so it is what it is. It's a trailer, but I think a trailer can tell you a lot about what a game's going to be. And I think that's the point of a trailer, you know, not to be sarcastic,
Yeah,
but the point of
yeah.
a trailer is to, get us interested. And I'm just not interested. I'm sorry. It's a personal opinion. We have opinions, guys. We're human. We may have evolved from something when maybe we didn't, but we're opinionated. We're an opinionated species. So we're a curious type. I don't care about it. Shadow Labyrinth looks interesting. Now,
That's a
the
really cool idea.
yeah, it's a completely different take on what Pac-Man is. Now, I've seen the secret level episode of Shadow Labyrinth, and I think it's cool that they're making a game based around it. I have no idea how big the game's supposed to be, because the episode is incredibly short. So I don't know if it's going to be like, just some roguelike looking. I have no idea what the game actually is. I don't know if we really know.
It's a full game. It's a full roguelike. Like
Oh,
I
it
would
is a
expect it to
roguelike.
be yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's described as I believe like something along the lines of that. But I mean, based on, everything we've seen of it, like I would expect it to probably be, pretty typical length. But it's really interesting. Like I think it's so funny that you like mold with Pac-Man and then you just jump up and like Pac-Man's like, munching and you hear the sound effects. Like it's really, really just
Yeah.
funny.
It's Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I mean, yeah, I think at least I don't know that it's confirmed that it's a roguelike per se, but I know it's confirmed that it's like a Metroidvania.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I
So
don't
there's
know.
gonna be like, like you basically um you go through this whole maze fighting monsters with Pac-Man, basically.
That's genius. I mean, the secret level episode was really brutal and kind of crazy. Like I was like, "Oh, this is Pac-Man?" Like what's happening? It's vicious.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really,
And I
really
will,
violent.
yeah, no, and I will say, just looking at the Steam page here, it says that it's 29.99, which I think is a great price for it.
Oh, it might
Metroidvania game. They're
actually
not
be pretty
charging.
substantial.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, cuz Hollow Knight's like a $25. I mean, and I would pay $100 for that game any day of the week. But, looking at the surface of a game like that, people are not thinking, "Hey, this is a $60 game." It's hard to sell a game like that, especially when the industry is so focused on, AAA, Nintendo is very different. I mean, if you look at this whole direct, you really don't get any of that energy from Nintendo's
No,
direct. And
no.
what I will say is Patapon is dope. I used to play Patapon as a kid, so I'm glad that we have that back. Um, that's just me switching the topic. Story of Seasons, I've literally never played. I don't know if you have anything to say about that, but I've
No,
never
I
played
mean, I
that.
know that we have a guy on staff, shout out Payne, who's a big fan of Story of Seasons. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
I I haven't talked to him about it, but I'm gonna assume he was probably pretty excited. I know
Hmm.
that's a lot of people enjoy that series. But yeah, like on Patapon. So Patapon and Everybody's Golf are
Okay.
coming to Nintendo Switch. Those are Sony Interactive Entertainment IPs, which is
I
crazy
think
to think about.
Everybody's Golf had like a Dark Cloud like cameo. It did. It was
Really?
Everybody's
Yeah, yeah.
Golf. That was really cool because with Astrobot, I almost said Astro Boy. Astrobot has like all these cameos from all these things that I loved as a kid that I didn't think anybody even cared about to remember. Like so I was just it's cool that we have these games coming back, these Sony games coming to Switch, which is I mean, it's the perfect place for every game.
Dude, this is what's gonna happen. And we've talked about this.
We have
So Xbox has started to not have a reliance, but they've definitely over the last couple years, I would say the last 5 years, they've started to lean into Nintendo's hand. And
yeah.
you're going to see that more and more when we see, if Halo actually comes to Switch and stuff, that's going to be a huge deal. But I think you can also now start to see that PlayStation is starting to do the same. We're starting to see similar patterns. So we first saw Horizon come over, MLB The Show as well. And now we're getting Patapon in everybody's golf. And Sony's not only publishing these on PlayStation 5, but they're doing PlayStation 5, Switch, and PC. So they're purposely avoiding Xbox as the direct competitor. But you can see that they see Nintendo and PC as indirect competition.
Right.
So I think it's a great move from Sony. Bandai is developing everybody's golf hotshots. And I think that, honestly, letting Bandai publish these things is great. Sony's not going to touch the IP. You might as well let people play these games elsewhere because what are you going to do with them, right? It's not your God of War. Like, these are smaller games that people adore. You can bring them back, make money from it. It's pretty smart. But I will say, seeing these Japan Studio IP come back has me thinking, what if Gravity Rush is next?
Oh,
That would be really cool.
they need to
Gravity,
make money
Gravity
off
Rush
that.
1+2 pack. Bring that to Switch. That game would sell like hotcakes on Switch, like a double pack. Oh my God.
Oh yeah,
I
it
mean,
totally
I'm
would.
personally, I'll say this. I haven't actually played Patapon because I didn't
Really?
grow up with a PSP.
Oh yeah, no, I had a PSP
So,
for sure. That was like my
I'm really
baby.
excited because I'm definitely going to check those out on Switch too. Wink, wink. I'm definitely going to check those out on Switch too. And I'm hoping that we have a physical because I really just want to get the physical copy.
Right.
Oh, speaking of like, physical digital stuff, Nintendo had a very strange announcement today. Virtual game cards. So, virtual game cards is something that they're going to launch in April, but it is essentially the most complicated way to game share. But now you can game share without like going through loops. So, basically, instead of having like a library, you're going to have a little tab on your Switch that's going to say virtual game cards. And they're going to refer to digital games as virtual game cards now. So you can take your virtual game card and you can load and eject it into your library, and you can actually load digital software onto different Nintendo Switch systems, which is clearly setting up for Switch 2, right?
Yeah.
But the interesting part about this is that you can actually lend your digital game card to someone else. So if they're in your Nintendo Switch Online family, you can actually lend them your digital game and let them play it.
That's sick.
So you're like, okay, great. So if I have, let's say you and I are on a family plan, I can lend it to you. Not quite. There's always a Nintendo catch. And the Nintendo catch is you have to be over local wireless to transfer the digital game cart.
Oh, okay. So I mean, if it was a friend
really
online,
is only your family.
yeah, it has to be somebody that you have like direct vicinity with.
Yes, and it's pretty disappointing. I think that it's honestly a cool idea to virtualize and kind of visualize really the digital ownership, quote unquote, lendership as we'll call it, and put that on there in a way that's easy to exchange with people. But yeah, especially for people online, it's like that sucks because, on PlayStation, right? I game share with one of my best friends. Like we have access to each other's libraries at all times. I don't have to go through loops. I just log onto his account, download the game I want to play, and I'm done.
Yeah.
But can't do it Nintendo. But yeah, you said earlier that, Nintendo doesn't do things like that. This was very, this was the very Nintendo. This was the most Nintendo presentation. Like this was Nintendo being Nintendo. This presentation. This is literally what they were. And it's so funny because we got the weird Rhythm Heaven, Tomodachi Life, super weird games that Nintendo's bringing back. It was just the most Nintendo presentation. I mean, it was Nintendo of Nintendo to announce this thing to air within 6 days of the Switch 2 presentation. It's like, hey, here's an appetizer. We forgot.
That's so wild.
It's just funny. It's this company is one of the hardest to predict. I mean, and I will say, under former Nintendo president Satoru Iwata, they became to get a little predictable. But the Switch, things start to get a little different. But really, once Furukawa, the current Nintendo president, once he took over, like they have been going like it's just throw it up in the air and you can't guess. I mean, you really can't. So it's definitely exciting, but it's a hoot to try to track and watch this company. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of unpredictable now. So honestly, they're evolving. And we're just here for the ride. Metroid Prime 4, I think, looks incredible. I actually had a serious argument with a friend. I'm sure he'll be watching this podcast. I was like, bro, I have to mute you today because like I don't want to argue with you about Metroid Prime 4. He's like, well, you aren't really a big Metroid Prime like guy. And I'm like, what are you saying? It's like, I don't even want to have an argument with you about this. I'm like, dude, listen, you want hyper realism and everything. I don't care about that stuff, dude. And I think the game looks great, especially being on the Nintendo Switch. The psychic abilities, like you just said, are pretty cool. And on top of that, like, dude, this looks just like Metroid Prime. Like, I don't see how this is majorly different from what it used to be or what it was before.
They're not going to, yeah, this was not going to be a case of, hey guys, we are reviving Metroid Prime. It's going to be unlike anything that we've seen in the past.
That's a huge mistake for them to do that.
It's a huge mistake. And that's probably, to be honest with you, that is probably why it got canceled at Bandai Namco and brought to Retro. Because it probably differed more than Nintendo liked.
Exactly.
And this is the kind of the thing where it's like, look, stylized graphics over realism all day. I'm sorry. And secondly, like this looks like a very neat and exciting evolution of the Metroid Prime series. It really does. And I'm very interested. All of the environmental stuff that we can do with the psychic stuff looks really interesting.
Very pretty environments.
Yeah. Oh, and I was going to say, like on the visuals, I saw people complaining about that. Like, honestly, it looks pretty much the exact same as Metroid Prime Remastered, which is one of the best looking games on Switch. So I'm perfectly fine with that. But I think a lot of people are going to shut up once they see next week, because I have a feeling, pretty suspicious if you ask me, that they did not date this game. Pretty suspicious. So I'm expecting a date next week. I'm expecting a date next week. And I think that game is going to look insane on Switch 2. I think that side to side is going to be like, what the heck?
I think, I agree with you completely. I think that would be super cool if they had like a side to side, like this is what Metroid Prime 4 looks like on Switch 2, you know?
Yeah, dude.
And I think people are just like, they're jumping the gun too early, you know? I think let's wait for the Switch 2 and for the Switch 2 trailers. For whatever they're dropping, you know, the next Mario Kart, you know, just wait. Be patient, guys.
We're 6 days, we're 5 days away at this point, right?
It's literally
when you're
less than a week.
We're 3 days.
Exactly.
Like, let's take a chill pill.
Yeah. Y'all need to chill, dude. We're here every day.
Yeah, we are. And, you know, we're talking about like, you know, what's it going to look like on Switch 2? Well, Nintendo like accidentally confirmed under the virtual game card thing, Nintendo Switch 2 edition games, which sounds a lot to me like an upgrade for Nintendo Switch games.
They should do that with Pokemon.
You best believe that Pokemon ZA is going to have it.
Oh, yeah.
So I think the real question for me becomes, how many Nintendo games are going to receive this Nintendo Switch 2 edition badge? Because for me, it's like, man, oh man, my list is long. Holy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think from a first party standpoint, there should be no excuse to almost every game.
Zelda.
Now, granted, Zelda, Breath of the Wild will have it. I think that's probably what there was the rumor back at Gamescom that they showed off 4K Breath of the Wild. I've been willing to bet that Breath of the Wild, whatever they showed off, is probably this, enhanced edition. I bet Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, are, you got to look at the games that are sold the most. I think those two for sure. I think Super Mario Odyssey will probably get one.
That'd be sick.
I would say Xenoblade X, we already know. It's in the files. I mean, I personally hope that they go back in, 60 FPS, 1080p, please, on the other Xenoblade games, because, my God.
Oh, dude, like the 540p, like
dude,
crazy
no,
low.
That's
like...
even worse than that. It's even worse than that.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the 300s.
Oh,
for Xenoblade 2.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
In handheld mode. Yes.
300s?
300s. 368p.
What is that? That's like the freaking resolution of like a HTC Android
That's
camera.
how they had to get it to run, man.
Dude.
But it's so funny because I was recording. So I put out a video this week because I've been getting a lot of, comments, messages on emails and all that stuff about, hey, I'm really interested, I've been really interested in Xenoblade X, your videos, blah, blah, blah. They're like, but I don't know where to start. Can I start with X? I don't know. So I was like, you know what? Let me throw together like a guide on like how to get into the series. So I went back and I got some footage. I used some footage from last week for Xenoblade X, and I got some footage and recorded some, my save files are so messed up, but I just had some random save files on all the games and I recorded it. And I was playing and I'm like, dude, I don't remember like Xenoblade 2 and Xenoblade 1 in particular, like looking as poorly as they do. But I think like coming from X and 3, it's like, oh my gosh, like it's been so long. Like, wow, like these games need an update so bad.
Yeah, they do. They really do. I remember playing Xenoblade 2, and I was like, man, this is probably the lowest resolution game that I've played like in a very long time. It was blowing my mind. I was like, I might have mentioned it to you back when I was playing it. I don't know if I
Yeah, I
mentioned it,
think
but
you
I was
did.
like,
I mean,
dude,
and I
this
love. I mean, I
resolution.
love that game to death. It is amazing. It's an amazing game. The visuals are gorgeous. The character models are super expressive. They're great. But like, oh my gosh, man, it's like I think about that game being at 1080p 60, like life changing, legitimately life changing. Like I can only hope that their Monolith is able to do it. I will say, if there's one developer at Nintendo that's going to do something like that, it's going to be Monolith. So I hope so,
Yeah,
but we'll see.
I
I
mean,
mean, but there's a lot of games that I don't think that will get Switch 2 upgrades. I mean, I'll tell you one that needs it. Age of Calamity, Hyrule Warriors.
holy crap, that game is so laggy.
Do you remember? Do you remember when that game came out? Because I
Oh
remember
yeah, I
playing it.
remember.
I remember playing it, and it dropped to 16 FPS in like the first area. I ejected the game cart, and it has literally sat on my shelf ever since. Like it was like 2020, I think. It's been sitting there,
Bruh.
and I've been waiting for Switch Pro, quote unquote, or Switch 2 to be able to play that game because I want to play that game because everyone is like, Now, granted, the story. Skip 10 seconds ahead if you want to hear it. The whole story being like, oh, that would never happen was stupid. I mean, I got spoiled on that, but I don't really care. You
That's
don't play Muso games for the story,
No, I
right?
know, but it's so
But oh
frustrating.
my gosh, that game looks so fun. It looks so fun. It's so cool. But I'm like, no, like I can't play that. Like, who's playing a 16 FPS game? Like, oh my god,
You
man.
say 16?
Yeah, it dropped. It dropped to like 22 or 16. It was
Oh
something
my
bad,
god.
dude.
No, I know. I've
It's
seen footage
bad.
of it. I never actually picked it up and played it, but I've seen plenty of footage of the game, and it looks like the
I
frame
got
rate is
scammed.
horrendous. You got scammed.
I paid $60 for 16 FPS. I got scammed.
Now
Dude.
$60 should at least get you 60. You know, let's all agree on that. Let's all
I,
agree on that.
I mean, I agree, but like honestly, like, dude, I might sound like a crack addict saying this, but like,
What?
I mean, look,
A crack
I'll
addict?
be honest.
Like that's
Yes, 100%. No, 100%. Like, I'm sitting here saying this because I have to say it, and people can catch me some flack. In those RPGs, those big RPGs I play at the option that prioritizes the visuals a lot of the time.
No,
So,
I'm not
like,
gonna lie. I
Rebirth,
get it.
Rebirth, I played 30 FPS in my review period. Now, granted, I did like 20 hours of testing in 60, so like it's not like I didn't do it, but I played the entire story, like
Oh,
my entire campaign playthrough in 30 FPS, and I have like, yes, it's not ideal, but I don't have a problem with that considering how beautiful the game looked.
Oh, dude, I played 15 on the PS4 Pro on like
Yes,
quality.
yes,
Yeah, I was like, no way I'm playing this on like performance. Like, no way. And you know, you don't even need
Mm-mm.
to. It's not like it requires a lot of reaction. That game, I mean, you pretty much never die.
It
So,
feels so slow. Like I love 15.
Ooh, okay.
I love 15. I 15 is a really great game that I think there's just like, look, people are never going to get over versus 13, rightfully so in
My
many ways.
goat.
But at the same time, like you have to look at 15 for what it is. And I have like so many problems with the game, but I came away really enjoying it, and I love this. I really love the story. I still wish that there were areas that they changed.
I'm
or
one
did
of those
better.
guys that
But
agrees with you on the story, dude.
yeah, I really did like
Arden?
the story. Like
Whew.
yeah. I mean, I thought, and again,
One of my
there's
favorite
so
villains.
many areas that they should have done better, and it's unacceptable that they didn't. But at the same time, it's like you have to treat the game and review the game as it is. And as it is, as a game, FF15, I enjoyed FF15. I had a good time with FF15. It is nowhere near my favorites in FF.
Oh yeah.
But oh
no.
my gosh, I do enjoy that game. But oh my gosh, I have to say it, going back to that game after playing Remake and Rebirth, oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh
Doesn't
boy.
even feel like it's
That
the same
combat
company.
feels slow. That combat feels like it's like at a fourth time speed.
Oh, I know. It sucks, honestly. And you know, I have a huge story about 15 that I'm not going to get into in this podcast. I keep almost calling it a stream, but we're not live streaming. I'm not going to get into the whole story, but I'm just going to say this. I have been following Final Fantasy 15 since like the original E3 2006 versus trailers for the 13 games. I'm very old, guys. You had Agito, you had versus 13, and you had 13, right? And 13 came out. 13 was the GOAT, in my opinion. Overhated, super overhated. Oh, it's a hallway. It's a hallway. That game is gorgeous. Are you kidding me? Not only is it gorgeous, music, outstanding. Hamauzu, God. Okay? God. There's not like a plural God. Hamauzu, God. Okay? 13-2, honestly, even more gas. Sorry. I'm sorry that y'all don't want to hear that opinion, but I'm going to let you know right now, 13-2, even better than the first one. Sorry. Love Sarah. Love Caius Ballad, one of my favorite Final Fantasy villains ever. Swag is on 100. Okay. Lightning Returns, GOAT. I love Lightning Returns. Okay. But I thought 15 was going to be on that level of like, just very, very Nomura'd out. Even though Nomura has not really anything to do with it except for like the art, right? I feel like Square had built themselves around his image. Like even if it wasn't something that he was directly involved in, his swag and aura was just dripping all over everything that he had anything to do with. So you're just like, man, Nomura must have made this, even if he didn't, right? So when 15 came out, which was a game that he was originally working on, that he created the characters, the story, the concept, everything, right? When that came out under Tabata, now you say, don't talk mess about Tabata. I won't. Okay. But here's what I will say. And I do understand his predicament. Here's what I will say. For a game that originally started off with Nomura creating it, developing it, etc., spearheading it, directing it, that game distanced itself from any of Nomura's original concept completely, right? And became its own wholly unique thing. Now, whatever that unique thing is, honestly, I enjoyed it for what it was, right? Especially if you're somebody who wasn't there from the very, very jump, right? If you just came in out of nowhere and you're like, hey, I'm going to pick up 15, you'll probably like it. Honestly, you'll probably, same thing with Assassin's Creed Shadows. If you're not like a blaring, if you're not just a historian, I'll keep the other words for another day. But if you're not just like a historian, you might enjoy Assassin's Creed Shadows, I'm sure, But everything is contextual, If you don't have any context for why 15 is the way that it is, you might think it's one of the best games ever. Honestly, facial animations are still some of the best in the series, right? 16 does not touch 15's facial animations. I'm sorry. It's very obvious. And 15 has incredible just combat animations, field animations, the best overworld conversation between the characters. I mean, just literally. Like just walking around with the boys, driving around with the boys, the interactions. That's where all the time went, honestly, was making that game feel as immersive as possible, which it does. It absolutely feels like you're hanging out with Prompto, Ignis, and Gladiolus. It does. And what's even better is all of that culminates in a very emotional plot, right? And the plot wouldn't be as emotionally gripping if it wasn't so immersive, And that immersion is something that they spent a lot of time on. And I think for what they wanted to do, they got their point across, right? And it sold very well.
Yeah, I mean, it's sold much better than Remake, Rebirth, and 16. So.
Correct. Exactly.
Which there's a lot of reasons for that.
Of course.
But yeah, I will say, I definitely agree with you. But I think at least if you are listening to this and you don't have context of what we're talking about, I'm going to plug. Go watch our Final Fantasy versus 13
I was going to say that.
retrospective. Because I will say, something that many people don't talk about is the fact that this game, versus 13, was supposed to be 3 games. And we have proof of that. It was supposed to be 3 games. And Square Enix basically went to Tabata and said, it's one game only. You have to cram it all into one, and you have until this date to do it. And that was the cards he was dealt. I mean, it's terrible. And so I think at the end of the day, again, it's like throughout all of the interviews with him, Tabata did everything he could to put the story together in a way that incorporated all of the ideas. But I think it's so crazy to me that people today still look back and they're like, oh, it's all Tabata's fault. It's like, if you knew half of the stuff that went on, and it all started because of Crystal Tools, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
If you knew half of the stuff that went on, you would be like, wow, like this dude is legitimately one of the craziest developers in like to ever grace the industry, solely for the fact that he was able to put this game together.
Wow.
Because I don't know how anyone was supposed to do it. I don't. The fact that FF15 came out is like a miracle.
Oh,
it
dude,
really
I know.
is.
I know.
So
and it really
just,
wasn't that buggy, you know? Like, honestly, it wasn't.
No. I don't know, man. It's just, it just bugs me when I see people blame Tabata, and I'm not even like a Tabata, I'm not defender of Tabata, but it's like, I did months of research on this video, on this game Versus 13, this game that never happened, and it's like there's so many interviews and just everything points and paints the picture that like this dude was literally dealt like, you have this long to make this game, you can only make this game that's supposed to be 3 games into 1 game, figure it out. Like it's crazy. And so you see bits and pieces of it. Like Kingsglaive was supposed to be the first half of the first game, and then it's just a mess. It's a crazy story. I don't want to spend all the time talking about it. Please watch it, that retrospective if you want more. But I will say, FF is in a very interesting place right now. It really is.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, bro, me being like one of the top 10 biggest glazers of Final Fantasy to ever exist, specifically Nomura, I'm probably like a top 3 Nomura glazer, alongside my pal right here and my friend Novum.
No.
Yes. Yep. You are a Nomura glazer. It's okay. It's okay. Nomura is the GOAT. Even if you're not, just accept it. We're good. Okay. Because we need people to stop calling him a hack. Number one. The amount of people that call Nomura a hack, it hurts my soul. Like, y'all have no idea how goated that dude is. The amount of people bro, stop. The amount of people that hate on Advent Children is crazy.
Oh, dude, don't even start. Oh my God.
See? It's emotionally driving you. It's emotionally driving you.
Dude.
See? Like,
oh no, like you're getting me riled up now because I'm just thinking about these idiots. Oh my gosh. Like, look, listen. Advent Children, I can't even lie to you. When I watched it first time years and years ago, I did not like the movie.
Wow.
And I think I didn't. And I thought that I was like, okay, we had a really cool fight with Sephiroth, right? It was like, okay, that was sick. But beyond that, I just didn't get it at the time. But I rewatched it right before Remake came out, right? I rewatched it right before Remake came out, and I was like, holy crap, I'm completely wrong about this movie. And I adore it. I adore it now. And I think it's just something that people that don't like it, like, need to take a step back.
It's a cult classic to me now, dude.
No, 100%. It's like, look, I definitely think, I agree, there's so much in that movie that could have been fleshed out better, but the story that it told is so good, and it's so in line with what FF7 is, right? It's like, I made a video for Under the Plate, our Final Fantasy series, last month in February, and, all the developers have said, the Remake trilogy is leading to Advent Children, it links to Advent Children, this, that. Like, look, regardless of what you think, I am 90% sure that this game is going to end leading to Advent Children, right?
Yes.
Everything that's happened is not this crazy multiverse stuff. It all is in line with the stuff that has been established beforehand, just expanded. So I think that for me, it's like, the big theme of Advent Children, and there's a fantastic interview with Nomura about this, and like the behind the scenes interview that came out with the Advent Children like specials, Blu-ray stuff. But he basically says, he's like the whole point of Advent Children is to showcase that consciousness can live on, and that,
right.
In learning to accept grief, right? Learning acceptance. And you look at those things and it's like, I just can pinpoint that directly to the remake trilogy. And you can see that those themes that were interwoven in Advent Children are so important now because we're seeing, obviously the end of Rebirth. If you know, I'm not going to say anything, but there is, denial, acceptance. This stuff is coming. So it's just, I really do love Advent Children. And I think it gets such a bad rep. Like people calling Cloud, the thing that makes me so mad about this movie, people calling Cloud like, oh, Cloud's emo, oh, Cloud's this, Cloud's that. And in my favorite one by a certain community that I will not name is like, oh, oh man, Cloud hates all these people. He hates Tifa. He hates Marlene. He hates all these people because he doesn't even want to be around them. And I'm like, that is such like a fifth grade level of looking at the thing.
Media literacy is at an all-time low.
No, like literally, why do you think that he was not staying at the, being with Tifa at the bar, hanging out, being with Marlene and all this stuff? Because he didn't want to hurt them because of geostigma, and he knows what it feels like to lose someone. That's the
exactly.
whole, like, it's like, I think it's so crazy to me that there's so many people who call themselves fans of Final Fantasy VII, and you don't have, you either don't watch Advent Children, or you don't care about it, or you just dismiss it and you choose to read into things that just don't matter. Because I'm telling you, it just blows my mind, man. I'm gonna leave this and that out, but yeah, great movie.
It's an incredible movie, and I love it, and I have it in 4K twice over. So, honestly, here's what I'll say. People love to have other people craft their own opinions for them because they're lazy and they don't want to just craft their own opinion themselves by just watching the movie with a little bit of context about who the characters are, right? And honestly, people have completely convinced themselves, whether or not it was, because of Kingdom Hearts 2 or Kingdom Hearts 1, versions of characters that are completely different from their original counterparts. Like people think that Cloud is a completely different guy than what he actually is, right? And that has led people to, misjudge his character and, misrepresent who he is. Right. And that became a popular thing. Cloud is this emo loner, type of guy. And he's just not, so this goes into a bigger subject that we collectively wanted to talk about, which is just people frustrate me on the internet, specifically people who impose their own opinions on everybody else. And hate on anybody who, loves something that they dislike, right? This even goes into Final Fantasy 15, a game that I'm not the most favorable about. I don't really favor that game like a lot of other people do. In fact, sometimes when I see it on my feed, I really don't want to see it. But I'm not going on the tweet or the post and replying or quote tweeting it and going, man, stop posting this garbage. Like I'm not doing that. Right? I don't go in people's comment section and go, man, I hate this game, Like, even when I made that Pokemon video, I didn't expect everybody to agree with it. I mean, the latest game that they released, the latest major game they released, Scarlet and Violet, had over 26 million sales. There's somebody who likes that game, for sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's also somebody who likes that game who's going to say something about it. So, while people think I'm super negative in that video, I disagree. I'm actually one of Pokemon's biggest defenders, but I'm an objective, rational person. I look at the stats, right? I have obviously subjective opinions. Opinions have to be subjective, right? But if I look at the collective opinion of what people think about that game, I come down to one thing. They're not optimized. Now, you could look at other people's videos and say, hey, maybe this company's not innovating a lot, but they're dropping a game every single year. They started to slow down a little bit. They had Legends, Arceus come out, but literally immediately in that same year, we had another major game come out, Scarlet and Violet. Less than 12 months time, pretty much, they dropped 2 major Pokemon games. So that's the same developer, right? I can't imagine, I don't even know how they're doing it, right? I mean, they're grinding in there, and it's not coming out like Mappa quality, but they're doing it. And I'll give them props for being able to make so much garbage so quickly. But honestly, like people just love to just suck the slop up through a tube. Like it's like, the steak milkshake and people are just sucking as hard as they can. And honestly,
It's
I'm just
no,
not
go on.
interested in the stuff that they're developing. And yeah, I'll talk about it. This ZA trailer looked decent, honestly. It looks decent. But if everything's going to take place in the same city, like there's just not going to be a lot of, uh biome variety. Like it all kind of looks the same based on the trailers. Like one city, I don't know. And I don't want to take up all the space in the world. I know you have things to say. But dude, this is not just about Pokemon. This is about everything. I don't go in people's comment section of video of a game that I don't like. I mean, because dude, there's so many games I don't like, right? And I don't go in there, man. Oh my god, I can't believe that you hate or like or whatever this thing. Like, I just don't care, dude. I don't even participate in the conversation to begin with. If I like something, I'll comment on it. But if I dislike something, I probably don't. Dude, I can't even think of when I've pressed dislike on YouTube. Like, I don't even do that. So, I don't know. People just have opinions on things and they love to share them. And sometimes they're really kooky and corny about how they feel. And they want everybody to know that they're kooky and corny. But, I want you to speak. So respond.
No, I mean, I just like, I think the point that I wanted to make is it's like, why talk about games that you hate? Like, why bring negative, like, that's just something that I think I see on Twitter every day. It's like, I mean, look, I've said my piece on this. I really don't use social media. There was a point in my life that I did, and then I took a step back, and it did so much for me, and I've never looked back. I think it's a terrible thing. I think it's terrible. And it's one of those things that's like, man, there are literally people on Twitter every day. I mean, I see people that have like 15 in bio. I mean, we're talking about people in high school and in middle school even that are just sitting on here being like, yeah, you can't like that, it's bad. You can't do this, it's bad. It's like, I don't know why people choose to extend so much negative energy when it's like, look, if someone likes something, great. If something if you don't like something, that's great too. You're fair to have an opinion. You can always have an opinion. But I think like if you're going to engage with someone you disagree with, why be hostile? Like,
Oh, it's
why
always
can't you just
hostile.
simply step back? Like, why can't you simply just be like, hey, like, take your Pokemon video. Like, hey man, good video, but I really don't agree with it. Like, I think Pokemon has been doing better. They've been getting better models. The games have been more interesting, and I've been having a good time with it. Like,
Yeah.
that's a completely fine response.
And
Just
all
like,
those
hey, man,
things are
you're being
true.
respectful.
Yeah.
Right. And that's fine. And people can have their opinion. It's like on Twitter, I saw today, like it's the same thing with everything. Like today, Metroid Prime. The graphics look like trash. This game is so terrible. Like, why do you even need to say that? I don't understand. I think there's such a negative stigma around social media and stuff online, and it's just like, man, it's like,
Dude.
I definitely wish that we could have like, and look, we get negative on this podcast sometimes. We say some stuff like, yeah, I don't like that. I don't like this. We had this episode. I mean, it happens every time,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But I think what's important is to differentiate like an opinion versus just being negative to be negative.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Like there's, it's like, why talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows and like, oh my gosh, this game's so terrible. I can't stand it. When it's like, you're never going to play it. Like,
Yeah.
if there's people posting like, hey, I'm having a great time in feudal Japan, just, swinging my
people are
sword,
always
cutting down bamboo.
replying and
Right?
being
It's like,
mean.
oh man, you can't like this game because this, that. It's like, guess what? The world doesn't revolve around you. If someone likes something, that's great. Like, again, I was having a conversation about this today. I'm currently watching Bleach. I am almost on episode 300. Like, I'm getting really far in. And I was talking to one of my friends, and we went to lunch, and I was talking to him about, yeah, man, I'm almost done with Bleach. He's like, oh, Bleach is terrible. Why would you waste your time doing that? Gosh, like, you're such an idiot. And I was like, dude, I actually think Bleach is fantastic. I'm having a wonderful time with it. And he's like, well, gosh, I mean, like, I just don't understand, like, you shouldn't be watching that. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to watch what I want. I really don't care. So go back to your Naruto loving behind and go enjoy it. Because I'm like, dude, I don't care. Like,
Dude, and I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but when
No,
I
go ahead, I'm
made that
good.
video about Pokemon, like sure, I could have mentioned the models. Sure, I could have mentioned the good things. I mentioned that Arceus was, an innovative game, right? But that's not the point of the video. You know, the point of the video is to talk about the community and how it has fostered a series of complacent video games, right? Um, the whole point about the graphics, and Metroid, right? Like that's something that, you know, basically my point was made. When I uploaded that Pokemon video, when I uploaded the Sony video and all the negative videos I've uploaded, my points have been reinforced by the people in the comment section. Literally. Oh, you just don't like it because you don't like to have any fun. The graphics are terrible, whatever. And, people don't like the graphics of Pokemon. Dude, there's a crazy dichotomy between the Pokemon fans who just eat up the slop and, the people in the Metroid Prime comment section and people in my DMs talking about Metroid Prime 4 looks ugly. Like, oh my God. Like, honestly, there's a lot of diversity in people's opinions. And, maybe not everybody is the same. Maybe people are actually different. Maybe people do want games to look pretty. I don't think Pokemon needs to look drastically better. I think the character models in the Pokemon look absolutely fine. It's what surrounds them that looks bad normally, And honestly, Metroid Prime doesn't really need to look that good. It's stylistically pretty, right? It only needs a couple of things.
Brother.
The things that people are complaining about are useless.
I'm just sitting here thinking like, dude, there's so many people. I would say 70% of people do not understand like anything past like, oh, it looks good, it looks bad, graphics, realism. It's like,
what about the gameplay?
Some people don't understand. People do not understand like what stylized visuals are. They just don't.
They don't.
They only look. Graphics are good if it's realism and looks like real life. Then they're good graphics. But if not, they're trash. I mean, literally, that's how a majority
makes no
of people
sense.
think.
Like Wind Waker is gorgeous, and that game is probably, honestly, bro, I think Wind Waker is the most stylistically driven 3-dimensional video game to ever be released in the canon of history. Like
it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
It's beautiful.
And that game stands the test of time because the HD version looks even better. Like, and it's just because it's a higher resolution. That's it. But that game is timeless, visually timeless, right? And I wouldn't say it's the graphically. Sorry, I wouldn't say it's the best game graphically. It's realistic. But I think it looks better than Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom for sure. Because even though Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, they have, a style going for them, there is textures that they're trying to go for. It's when you can tell that the developer isn't doing it, or like the game can't reach the potential, If there's never a moment when I'm playing Wind Waker where it's like obvious that something should have looked better and it didn't, Like, thing of Pokemon is it's very obvious when something should have looked better and it didn't, when a mountain has no texture on it, it's just a big block, right? Like that's obvious, right? But when a game is stylistic like Metroid Prime, it's like you can't really tell me, hey, this should have looked a lot better than this. Like, no, honestly, no, I disagree, but go ahead.
No, I agree. I'm just sitting here thinking about people being so overly negative, and I'm just like, dude, oh dude, Final Fantasy VIII. Oh my God. Oh
dude,
my God.
I know.
That game. Like, I literally, like, I tell people this all the time. They call me crazy. FF8 is a top 4 Final Fantasy for me.
Honestly, bro?
I love FF8. I love FF8. And I think it's so crazy to me that people just drag it down all the time. It's like, dude, you don't enjoy it? That's great. But there's so much in that game. It is probably Uematsu's best soundtrack. And it is just... It's such a good story.
Ultimatia's theme is the most mind-bending. Like,
oh, it is.
It's incredible.
It's so good, and the story is just amazing. Literally, I also think just "Eyes on Me" is genuinely probably top 3 or 4 songs in the entire Final Fantasy series for me. I adore it. I love it, and it's so funny to me because I got to meet Kitase and Hamaguchi in person in December, and I told Kitase. I actually brought my Final Fantasy VIII copy for him to sign, and my Final Fantasy VII. But he signed my Final Fantasy VIII copy, and I told him, I was like, Kitase-san. I said, Final Fantasy VIII remake, and he looked at me and he laughed, and he's like, huge projecto. I was like laughing, but he was like, and he was laughing. But I told him like, I just want to see this world like reimagined. And he was like, it's like, oh, I love FF8, and it was just so. I'm like, oh man, I would do so many things to get that game remade in the way that 7 is, dude. I really would. It does not get enough love. But again, my point bringing this up is I see so many people still today being like, it's crazy how FF8 was trash and then FF9 was good, but we had that one really bad FF in the 90s. It's like, dude, get a life.
That
Like,
one really bad FF in the 90s.
and it's funny too, because at least at the time when FF8 released, right? And 8 has problems, it does. But I think all the Final Fantasies do. But 8 in particular, when it released in the 90s, a lot of the immediate reaction to it was because it was so different from 7, right?
Yeah.
So different. And so it's like, it's just funny because it's like, personally, I really love the junction system because I'm sitting here like adding fish scales and all these parts and I'm boosting my damage and I'm doing like 9,999 damage in like level 10. It's awesome. Like, it's like, I don't know, man. I enjoy breaking things. And I think the junction system was made to be broken. And I don't know. I'm an FF8 fan, so I have to say.
Yeah. FF8 is dope, dude. Honestly, FF12 is my favorite. That's never going to need a remake. I mean, that game looked crazy on the PS2. Obviously, they made a remaster for it, which was the International Zodiac Job System, which is literally the final mix for 12. That people hate on the game because of the gambit system. Because once you get all the gambits set up, I mean, the game is pretty much like, a cakewalk. But like, who cares? Like, who cares, bro? Who cares? Who cares? Why are we hating on the literal GOAT? I mean, I cannot imagine. And it's always Vaughn that people have a problem with. Oh my God, I hate that he's not actually the protagonist. He's just there. You're just playing as him. But he's not really, the protagonist. He's just there. And I'm like, dude, not every like main character that you're playing as, not every primary character has to change the course of history. Like, it's dope that he's just pretty much there, participating in the world. I think the game is bigger than him. And I think people, just want every protagonist to be like Clive Rossfield. And
oh my
I
gosh, in that game, oh man.
Like, I love Clive. I think he's one of my favorite video game protagonists. He's so cool. And he has so much personality. And he has so much purpose, and so much emotion behind that character. I love Clive Rossfield. I think he's a great character. But
Clive's great because he's the only focus of the game.
Exactly. My issue is like, he's literally Jesus Christ. Like, no blasphemy. Like, in that world, that's like Jesus. He is the sole focus of every single story event, period. Like, everything. No spoilers whatsoever if you guys haven't played 16. I definitely think you should play it because it's a great game. But he's literally the only thing that matters. Like,
that's my biggest problem with it. It's because it's like you have Joshua, you have Jill, and it's like Jill especially, man. It's like, gosh, like these characters, they introduce you to you get introduced, and they try to make you care about them, but it's all just like, Clive's the only thing that matters. Gosh, I mean, but again, I completely understand why people love FF16. I'm never gonna say, there's people out there that think remake is trash and 16 so much better, and good for you, but I definitely disagree respectfully.
Yeah, of course. I don't think Final Fantasy 16 is trash. I don't think so either. I think it's just like not an RPG.
No,
I don't think 16 is an RPG.
See it. So I think the debate around. So if you were in the community around launch, there was a huge debate with so many people being like, this is not a Final Fantasy game. And that was like a huge deal to the point that like they were marketing stuff like, what makes a Final Fantasy game? Chocobos, this, that, right? Like there was a whole marketing thing about it because people were getting so butthurt about it. But look, it's a Final Fantasy game, but I think that there are serious implications that Square Enix needs to reassess for the future if, they need to pick a direction. And the direction is using the Rebirth combat system as a base for FF17. But we'll see if they do that. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree. It's not an RPG. It's not an RPG at all.
Yeah, no. It the game doesn't
It is a
suck.
Final Fantasy game.
It's
but
definitely
it's
a
not an
Final
RPG.
Fantasy game for sure. Like that never leaves my mind when playing that game. Hey, I am playing a Final Fantasy game, right? But that game is like Kingdom Hearts is more of an RPG, honestly. Like it is. Like it's just there's so
I mean,
many details missing from 16. Like why do we have all these
Yeah.
different gods that we can tap into? All these different icons for Clive to tap into. And you have, Faraga and Blizzaga and all these spells that are just the same thing. I mean, they you would think that there would be some sort of super effective, system where, you could do more damage to a plant enemy with fire damage, but that's just not it. There's no, status effects really. I think can you get poisoned? I don't even know.
No, there's zero status effects. There's zero. You can't. That's one of the things that really made me frustrated when I reviewed the game. You can't inflict status effects on enemies in 16. It's just completely and it's like, dude, the combat system is fun, but like when you get to the point where you're just going, yeah, 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 with your sword, it's like, oh my God, dude, like, come on.
No, I know. It's just like, yeah, boom, yeah, boom, yeah, boom, yeah, boom.
Yeah, and it's
boom.
like, okay, and I think a lot of the problems with 16 honestly stem from Creative Business Unit 3 or Creative Studio 3, as they're called now. Like
They've changed the name so many times.
They did. Well, they changed it now because with the restructuring of Square. But it's like, it's just so funny to me because it's like, all the quests and all the animations for the quests, they look directly ripped from an MMO, right? There's just so many that all of the super shallow mechanics, right? Like take one of the most useless things in the game, right? I can't believe so many people don't talk about this. Crafting. Like, what is the point of crafting at 16? You get you get spoils at the end of your fights, right? You get materials for what? Like what? Like it's so pointless. It's so pointless. They don't even do anything. It's like you use a couple common resources and you upgrade your sword and it does nothing for you. Like you never feel the difference in getting a better weapon. And
Right.
it's like that. And then also like my other thing, right? Okay, RPG. Great, just put chests everywhere in the environment. Okay, you kick it open. Wow, you got a bunch of useless materials you'll never use, or you get some gil. And it's like, what do you even use that for? Nothing. It's just there. It's like pointless. And then the whole gear system was a joke. That was nothing. And then oh man, and then like all the, I get why they did it, but I also just have a problem with the fact that like there's only one playable character in 16. Like, I mean, I get it. I completely get it.
Oh,
but
God.
like I feel,
Why?
that takes away so much.
I know. I don't get that at all. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like that
It's because they went
so...
full action.
Oh God, bro. But even
Yeah.
DMC 5 has like V and Nero and Virgil. Yeah, like there's four
Who
characters.
are all as like now. Granted, Clive definitely has a little bit more going on because of you can switch to the
Overall.
icons, but like
Yeah.
Dante has like 5 weapons. Like
Exactly. And
Yeah.
there's way
It's-
more intricacy in the combat
yeah,
for DMC 5. I'm sorry.
No, I agree. 16 is because again, I really like 16, and I really did when I played it, and I was pretty disappointed by the expansions.
Yeah.
Like the Rising Tide, the boss fight was awesome, the music was awesome, but it
They
was like,
finally
man,
used
like,
that
this
song,
is it?
dude.
Yeah, Fat Cascade. I was like, thank God, like let's go. Yeah, because I remember listening to that trailer like 100 times whenever
Oh,
it came
I know.
out
The
in
music
September
is so
2020.
good.
It was
It's
like,
still
oh
a
my
hype
gosh,
trailer,
like,
honestly.
no, for real. It's like, let's get hype. But I'm like, man, like, I was hoping for some story with Jill there, maybe get a little bit more about her character, and it was just nothing. It's like, okay, gotta go to the timekeeper real quick. Oh my goodness, we stopped the time. We gotta get the baby. It's like it's just I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah. I am so tired of I'm sorry. I'm so tired of action games. Like I am.
I'm very tired of one specific type of action game. It's not even 16, it's Souls games. I'm so
Oh
tired
my
of it.
god, wait.
Like everything has to be a Souls game. We can't just have normal, like, remember in the PS2 days and the PS3 days where we would get all kinds of different action games and it would be like, okay, great, like we have all this stuff, really fun games. Like we get really crazy games of action, like Metal Gear Rising 2013, right? All this stuff we got in that same time period. We got the original Nier, right? Really unique
Facts, yeah.
action games. Then now it's like Souls game, Souls game, Souls game,
Oh
Souls
yeah.
game, Souls. And I'm like,
Liza
dude,
P,
I
Kazan,
literally,
remember
I
the
cannot
Surge?
stand.
There's so
Oh
many
my God, I can't stand
garbage,
Souls
so
games.
many garbage Souls games came out before Liza P came out. Like, oh, it's Stellar Blade. Like that's kind of Soulsy in a way.
Okay. No, it's definitely Soulsy. And
Yeah.
I actually played the demo for that one. And I don't know if it's been fixed. I don't know if it was a me problem, but me and a friend both played the demo. And I was like, there is some weird input lag in this. Like there was something we felt off about the controls. And I know people that swear by that game, which, you know what, are they swearing by the game? Are they swearing by something else? I don't know. But they're swearing by something, and people are convinced that the combat is amazing in that game. And I'm not gonna, I haven't played it, so I can't sit here and tell you if it is or isn't. But I will tell you that demo had some weird input lag. Like it was weird, man. I felt like I was attacking super slow. It felt jank. Is the best way to describe it.
Yeah. It is jank. It is jank. And honestly, bro, I might get Stellar Blade for PC for reasons, but otherwise, like, I don't know. Shit. Hold on.
Oh my god.
Wait.
I mean, honestly, I will say this. I'm really curious. Oh, this is going to be interpreted very the wrong way at first. I'm very curious about the mod scene for that game. And
Yeah.
not what you're thinking. Not what you're thinking. If you're a Stellar Blade fan, that's probably what you're thinking. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like complete character model replacements.
You basically said every
Like,
Stellar Blade fan is a gooner, dude.
No, I'm not
sorry.
saying that. I'm just saying I look, there's some people online. I feel like I can't, anytime that this game is talked about, it's people
Dude, every time
posting
I
these
see the game,
cust-
it's just
dude,
Eve.
No, it's Eve in the photo mode doing poses, and it's like, bro, like we cannot be for real. Like, I'm sorry, like we cannot be for real. I'm like,
Facts,
brother,
bro.
like, dude, I'm not gonna call this person out. There's because I won't, and I don't, I'm
They
not
have a
friends
cloud
with them, so
profile
I'm not gonna
picture?
do that. No,
Okay.
there is a like news-ish account that posts news,
Okay.
and like in between the news, like every couple days, there would just be some random photo of Eve, like, hunched over. It's like, dude,
Oh,
like, let's get
they
a
have a
life.
Red 13
Let's get a
photo?
life, dude. What?
Nothing. I said they have a Red 13 photo.
Perhaps. Love you if you're listening to this. I actually really respect the work you do, but I am going to
appreciate
make
it,
fun of you for that
like,
because
thanks for the
it is pretty funny.
aggregations.
No, I mean it is pretty funny, but no, it just makes me laugh. It's like I feel like that no one talks about Stellar Blade as a game. It's all let's talk about Eve.
Oh
Let's-
no,
like,
she looks good, but I feel like to me she's like not a person. She's like a model to be like, dressed up in like whatever. I feel like she's just a doll.
I mean,
like,
dude, she's a video game character. I really don't care. Like, I mean, I
dude, no.
if it gives people incentive to play, that's great.
I know what it is that I was trying to say. It wasn't that she's a doll. You know how like Jin Woo was like aura farming and like he didn't get it
Oh my
naturally? Like Eve is not
What?
naturally bad. Like she's like artificially forced to be attractive. Like, Tifa's just bad because she's bad. Like, she's an attractive, alluring, she has a lot of sex appeal. But Eve is just deliberately designed to appeal, like, especially with the camera angles and everything. Like, there's a lot of
Dude,
video game characters that don't
yeah.
need that level of just extremity. Like there's so many video game girls that don't need crazy camera angles to be top waifu. But like
To
Eve is just
be.
like exactly, exactly. Even with the ladder and the destructible clothes, you know, to be, she's one of the most famous video game girls of all time, and she did not need as much like aggression. I know Yoko Taro is always glazing Stellar Blade,
Well,
but
Yoko Taro just need to tell everyone how many polygons he put into her certain asset. Like, I love Yoko Taro.
he's
man.
so
Oh
funny.
my god,
But I think I made my point clear. Like, it's like the Jin Woo, like, I feel like it's Korea.
dude.
That's what I'm gonna say. It's
Okay,
Korea.
we gotta talk. You brought up Jinwoo. I gotta talk about this. How? Like, I feel like I'm going crazy here. Okay, why
You
is solo
are.
leveling so popular?
Oh,
Like, I don't
dude.
understand.
Dude.
No, I don't understand.
The highest rated, like most rated Crunchyroll, whatever, like under One Piece. It's like,
Dude,
I don't get that
it's
at all.
literally like it's the most 7 out of 10 show I've ever seen in my life. There's no story. Jinwoo doesn't struggle. He just goes, oh, fight, boom, you're dead.
That
It's like, dude,
RDC World video is the funniest thing in the world. Like,
no, 100%.
him going,
100%.
him going, I know I'm that. Like,
Yeah.
I know I'm
Dude,
that guy.
I just like, I don't understand how, like, so, I mean, people use like, My Anime List or Analyst to kind of track their stuff. I personally use Analyst, and it's like that season 2 of Solo Leveling is like number 20 or something of all time rating. And I'm sitting here like, people have to be blind. Like, people just love slop. I'm convinced. And I, you know what? Like I said, I'm sticking in line with what I said earlier. Like, this is my opinion. I'm not disrespecting anyone else. But I'm sitting here like, man, are we really putting Solo Leveling above One Piece, Vinland Saga, and all these other shows? Like, you cannot be
It's
serious.
wild.
You cannot be serious. Like, no. I got to pull this up because, trust me.
Even above Demon
this
Slayer is
list-
disrespectful. Like,
Nah, yeah, God. You're going to listen to this list, and you're going to sit here and be like, dude, this is insane. I promise you. Listen to this. Here we go. Hold on. I got to find this because this is, like, insane, dude. Like, I'm sitting here, just all going about my business, right? No. Like, this stuff, man, Solo Leveling, you're not that good. Like, you're not that good. I'm sorry. Here you go. You ready? So Solo Leveling, as of right now on Analyst, is number 25.
that's
Okay?
nuts.
That puts it above. And by the way, it will go up. Like, because remember, most people don't rate the show until the season's over. It will go up. So that's going to put it above One Piece, Mob Psycho, Vinland Saga, Attack on Titan, like, all this
That's
stuff.
dark.
86, Bleach. I'm sitting here like, I'm terrified for our world.
Oh,
Genuinely.
I know.
Genuinely. Like, I'm
because
terrified.
everybody has just become like slop enjoyers, dude. It's like,
Dude,
doom
it's-
scrolling on TikTok, like aura
Yes.
memes, like just, oh my God, this is the best show ever. Like, Solo Leveling is a must watch, Moist Critical says. Like, I love his opinions. He is dude, I gotta stop. These people gotta stop DMing me stuff. Like, these people gotta stop DMing
It's just
me
crazy.
stuff.
No, it's just crazy because it's like, man, I'm sitting here like, dude, again, enjoy what you want to enjoy. But my goodness, like, I cannot have an actual conversation with you if you're sitting me with a straight face like, yeah, bro, Solo Leveling, so much better than Bleach or Vinland Saga. Dude, I can't, man. I just, oh my God, man. Like, what has even happened? And this is the funniest part. I tell people this and people laugh. There is no Solo Leveling fan that can name more than 5 characters. I guarantee you.
That's
They don't even
nuts. Honestly,
They just know Jinwoo.
I
Jinwoo
can name
Aura.
one.
Jinwoo Aura farming. and you know what? A1 Productions, this is your fault. It really is your fault because, in not this episode, but the episode before. So, 2 episodes ago, when they had when Jinwoo, he switched places with the guy, right? And he was like sitting on top of a building just staring down below. That was not in the manhwa. They added that in. Or a farm Jinwoo. And I'm just like, dude, like, you guys, this studio is encouraging it. The fans are just eating it up. I mean, there was a good fight. It was a really good fight, right? They had a good fight last week that was really well animated, really impressive. But then I go on Twitter and I'm like seeing people being like, this is the most impressive fight I've ever seen. It's in look, I don't like JJK whatsoever, but that JJK episode in season 2 with the Sukuna fight, it's probably genuinely the most impressive work of animation like I've ever seen.
Oh my
Like in
god,
terms of just
it's
production,
such
it
a
is
flex.
right. It's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. There's people out here like, oh my god, like this Jin Woo just threw that in the trash. I'm sitting here like, dude, we cannot be for
Dude,
real.
these
We
people,
cannot. No, we
these
cannot be
people,
for real, man.
dude,
Dude.
Jin Woo, like these, bro. What do they say, bro? They say
No,
Jin
Jin Woo
Woo.
or farm. Give me the
Yeah.
cloak. Jin Woo.
Dude,
Jin Woo.
dude, it's
I
like
can't,
Jin
bro.
Woo washes, bro. Jin Woo stomps.
Yeah, dude. The craziest what I saw the
Jin
other
Woo
day.
fodder.
Jin Woo's beating everyone, bro. Jin Woo on top. Don't worry.
Jin Woo's beating Goku.
You know who Jin Woo needs? You know who Jin Woo needs to face off against? Renji. Go fight Renji, the fraud. The
Oh
fraud.
my god. Oh shoot.
I just can't, man. I can't. Like, look, if you like Solo Leveling, and look, I'll sit here and tell you. Like I said, I was gonna give it a 7 out of 10. That's probably my rating for the show. Like now, season 1 was like a 6 probably but season 2's probably been about a 7 for me. But I'll sit in here. I'll be the first to tell you.
Impressive.
Yes, it's enjoying to watch, right? It's fun to watch. That's it. It's mindless. It is completely mindless. If you sit there mindlessly and watch it, you'll have a good time with it. But if you start to be like, all right, like let's see the character progression, let's see the dynamics, let's see this, let's see that. It's like there is none. It's Jinwoo, or like it's like nah, I'm not doing the JoJo or but you know, like it's like, dude, come on, man. Yeah. Also, people out here saying JoJo is worse than Solo Leveling. Like, what are you doing? What are we doing?
JoJo? Bro.
Yeah, bro. I'm sorry, man. Like, dude.
These are the people who would say like JoJo is unwatchable. Like, or like, you know, I don't understand it. Like, I don't even want to be in the same room as these like,
dude.
oh God.
Nah. Bro, we're just a couple weeks away from part 7. I am completely blind. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
I'm not gonna
oh my
lie,
gosh,
bro.
dude.
Oh, you have no idea. You
I
better
know, bro.
share
I don't
your
know anything
opinions
about
in
it.
the chat.
What'd you say?
You better share your opinions in the chat. We want.
Oh, I will for sure. I mean, we'll be talking about it on the podcast, I'm sure.
Oh,
but
please,
I just like, I mean, I'm sitting here like, God, man, it's like, I don't look again. You are completely entitled to your opinion, but I think that we need to have a serious talk about media literacy in this world. If we are sitting here saying, yeah, guys, Solo Leveling just has the best character development. You know, Mami Cha and Jinwoo. God, what amazing characters. Because that's the funniest part. No one calls Cha-Hain her name. They call her Mami Cha.
Mommy Chai. That sounds drinkable to me.
It's so bad, dude. God.
Yeah. And you know what? It's
so
not even
bad.
Japanese. Like,
No, that's the funniest part. Dude, oh my God. You just reminded me of the funniest tweet I saw. The funniest tweet I saw was, I talked about Jinwoo sitting on that building. I saw someone say, oh my gosh, is Jinwoo in Shibuya? I'm like, bro. Like, we have
Shibuya.
lost the plot.
Let's wake
We
up.
have lost the
let's wake up.
like,
He's in Seoul at the best. Like that's where he's at. It's Taiwan.
we have lost the plot,
Busan.
man. Well, and that's the thing now. So because Solo Leveling is doing so well and it's so popular, you're going to see all these manhwas start to get adapted into anime, and I'm going to be really interested to see how that goes because there's definitely some quality manhwa out there, but I also think that there's a lot that is just like whatever, and I'd much prefer to see other stuff be adapted, but who knows, man.
Yeah. I would love to. I'm so glad Gachi Ikuta is getting an adaptation, and it looks really good. So
It's by Bones, right?
it's literally Bones, like Bones
Film.
Like yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
Bones-
straight up just
Bones Film.
Bones. Same
No, it's
composer as Soul Eater.
Yeah, dude.
That's nuts.
exciting.
Yeah, that's
I'm
epic.
personally like I'm trying to think. Like for me at least, so spring season's starting here in a couple weeks. Like I'm super stoked for Lazarus. Stoked for the beginning after the end. I'll be watching probably My Hero Vigilantes, and then other
Vigilantes
stuff here.
looks good, actually.
It looks good, yeah. And then I'm gonna be watching Moonrise, which, my God, that was so funny. That got announced like 3 years ago. Radio silence. It was supposed to come out last year. Nothing until the very end of the year. They're like, not coming this year. And then they released something, and like 2 weeks ago, they're like, hey, it's coming out in April. I was like, what? Like out of nowhere.
I'm really excited for Gacha Ikuta because like Kei Arana, like that's pretty much like, the prodigy of Atsushi Okubo, who is probably my favorite mangaka of all time, and I'm not kidding. I'm dead serious. I'm a huge Soul Eater fan. That's something we really need a remake of, is Soul Eater. Soul Eater desperately needs a Brotherhood readaptation. And yes, we do need Bones. Sorry. And yes, we do need the original composer. And yes, we do need the original openings. In fact, we need the original cast for the voice actors. That's one of those things where it's like the first half of it was so flawless. You know, it's like I don't even want to hear another voice for another character. That is like, when FF7 did that, I was fine. Like, I was fine with I felt Sephiroth is probably, and I like Tyler for Sephiroth, but the
Yeah,
Sephiroth
I do too.
swap is my least favorite of the character swaps. I think the new Aerith is way better than the original Aerith.
No, you cannot say that's your least favorite. Oh, mine might be controversial.
Your least favorite? My least favorite is Sephiroth. Yeah, in terms of like character swaps.
Mm, my Vincent for me.
Oh no no! You know what? You know what? You just changed my mind live.
Steve
You
Bloom
just changed my mind
is
live.
so incredible. He is
That's
literally
because
one
we
of
have
my
a
favorite
whole
voice
game
actors.
with Vincent, by the way.
Yes,
And
it's like,
Vincent,
dude, what I love. Here's the problem, and look, Matt Mercer, phenomenal voice actor. Oh
oh,
my
of
god,
course,
phenomenal voice actor. But
he made
my
Vincent so
problem with
generic. I'm so
Vincent,
sorry.
yes, well, here's my problem. Steve Bloom, when he portrayed Vincent, has that raspiness in his voice like that, right? And it just sounds good. It just sounds good. And it's like
Oh, I
Matt
know. He
Mercer is
sounds
just like
so
Matt Mercer has the
epic
deep
and
voice like this, but then you get the raspiness, and the raspiness is what makes Vincent Vincent. And it's like,
exactly.
I miss it,
I
man. I
miss
miss it.
Vincent's original voice. No, I agree. Honestly, bro, Vincent
But
is
to be
one of my
fair, I will
favorite
say,
FF characters, so that's tough. Yeah.
no, I was just gonna say, I'm gonna hold my judgment until part 3 to be completely fair, because Mercer probably only had like maybe 20, 15 minutes of lines. He barely had anything. So I'm not gonna sit here and fully judge it yet. But I will say, like, if I were to judge it off Rebirth, I definitely prefer Steve Bloom and
Oh
his
no,
portrayal
Steve
of
Bloom
Vincent.
is so much better. For Vincent specifically. And maybe Matt
Yeah,
Mercer will, dive deeper into the, grungy, growly, kind of like honestly, like very goth, like Vincent. Like, because Vincent in Advent Children, in Dirge of Cerberus, I mean, he's literally like Lucretia. Like he's just so like
yeah,
moody and
yeah,
so like it feels like you can, it feels like palpable and tangible. Like, you're just imagining Steve Bloom in the studio with like one hand over his head, like just one hand over his face, just like looking down at the ground, like while he's talking to the microphone, just like
yeah.
being
And it's like,
extremely
dude,
edgy. Like, it sounds
yeah.
so much better, honestly. I'm sorry.
It sounds a lot better. And for me, it's like I also, at least, and again, I just think that Steve Bloom's portrayal, it made it in a way to where like you really felt like you were in Vincent's voice. You could just hear the torment he went through.
Oh, dude, yeah,
And it's
100%.
like not, and that's nothing. And again, it's hard to judge because we really have seen nothing, right? But with at least in Rebirth, I just don't get that same feeling from Vincent. And again, I think Matt did a really really good job. Like, but I just I want to feel. I want to hear the pain in his voice when he talks. Like, it feels like when Steve Bloom talks, it's like as Vincent, there's you really feel like that this dude has been through so much. Like, he has this such long history, and it's like you could just hear it.
Right.
You could just hear it.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I agree. Honestly, you changed my mind. I wasn't even thinking about that. That's true.
I love Tyler as Sephiroth. I think Tyler's awesome.
I think honestly, this is going to be very controversial. Uh, George Newbern, I think, obviously one of the most iconic voices for like any villain. Obviously, Sephiroth, like original Sephiroth's voice is so crazy. But Tyler, I think, has more range for
Hmm.
Sephiroth and like makes the good guy turned bad guy believable more than like George Newbern does. Because like George Newbern's like, hero, like before Sephiroth discovered that he was a, violent planet, you know, planet conquering alien. Like before the discovery that Sephiroth made about himself and his mother, like I think Tyler's version of Sephiroth's voice is far more believable, and he sounds like a lot more, heroic and a lot more, friendly. I think it's very difficult to, gather that when you're listening to George as Sephiroth before the transformation, like I feel like Tyler just has a lot more range in that regard and making Sephiroth sound a lot more nuanced. I do like Tyler, especially at the end of Remake, when he's talking to Cloud about the 7 seconds, the 7 second scene. That is one of my favorite scenes, especially because of the sword fight. But yeah, do you get what I'm saying? Like,
no, I totally get it. Well, and I agree with you. Like, I think that like George Newman's interpretation of Sephiroth was great, and I think like for Advent Children it worked perfectly.
Oh yeah,
but I definitely agree. Like, I think seeing Sephiroth fall and just him lose his mind in the Nibelheim flashback, like Tyler did such a good job, and I just think that Tyler has a very good because again, Sephiroth is toying with Cloud. Like, he just has a very good you could just hear in his voice, like he's like not so fast, like he has that you really just get immersed in the game with the way that he voices the character.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah,
no, it's great, man. I just it's crazy to me that he's had so many interviews and like barely anyone has ever asked him about Sephiroth. Like, everyone just cares about Superman. It's like, dude, put me in a room with that guy. I got an hour worth of questions about Sephiroth.
Oh yeah, dude. He said that like it's crazy that he has to do both Superman and Sephiroth because like him, going back and forth between those two characters is just like it's a crazy dichotomy. Like those are two completely different dudes.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, I think the voice cast overall is very good for FF7 Remake. That's something I wouldn't want to change about Soul Eater. I feel like everybody in Soul Eater is so perfect, especially the English voice cast. So if they do go back to making that, I hope they go back to it, and I hope they do a Brotherhood. I know, Fire Force is not over. When Fire Force ends, I hope they capitalize on that. I wish Fire Force was more popular. In fact, it was actually really popular in the first season, and then people were like disgusted by the Tamaki thing, which is like ridiculous because honestly, like I feel like Soul Eater original, like back in the day, had way more just etchy in it than Fire Force has had, and I feel like people have gotten so stiff about this etchy thing. It's like, dude, it's Japan, it's a shonen. It's going to have these aspects in it. If it doesn't, cool, But this is what Atsushi Okubo does. And if you don't like it, you can go watch something else, It is what it is. But being upset about the occasional etchy scene is ridiculous. Like, either watch it or don't.
Oh, dude. Oh, dude, don't awaken the beast inside. Dude, I'm about to unleash this argument, man. I can't, dude. People who say, "Oh my God, fan service!" No, you piss me off so much. I'm so sorry. Like, dude, look, I'm not saying it's necessary, but look, I've seen people online. Well, they're not catering to global audiences. Guess what? At the end of the day, and this is Japanese animation, it's catering to Japan. And at the end of the day, I'm sorry, the fan service stuff doesn't hurt anyone. It doesn't. Is it unnecessary at times? Yes, but it doesn't hurt anyone. Like, I think the outcry about like how it's the sin against humanity is so stupid. Like, there's people out there that are like, if there's anything, it's unwatchable. I'm like, dude, a fun fact for me, some of the funniest shows I've seen have had a ton of that. And I'm not sitting here saying I love it, but it's absolutely something that just happens and you just have to accept that. And I think people that cry about it are so ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they are. Honestly, grow up. Like,
I mean, because like, look, I get it. Like, I get not wanting to see that. Like, I get that. But at the same time, it's like,
oh no, I understand.
You have to look at what the show is. Like, there, if the show has a very serious tone, and like, let's say it's not in the manga and the animation studio adds it, yeah, that might be something to be upset about. But like, take a show like Attack on Titan. Like, there's none in it because it doesn't need any, right? If there's a comedy, like take, for example, Konosuba, right?
Oh, yeah.
Konosuba has quite a bit of it, but it's part of the comedy. It's the whole point. Like I've seen people, I saw someone not that because they recently released the OVAs for season 3, and someone was like, "Oh my gosh, like this fan service crap is ridiculous," and I'm just sitting here like, dude, that's the whole point of the show. Like the whole point of
Exactly.
the show is that, and I just don't. It's like I think people have interesting interpretations of like what is and isn't fan service too. I mean, I've seen people be like, "Oh my gosh, like if the characters aren't wearing full coats, like where they can't even move and they're so like it's fan service." It's like, dude, who cares? Genuinely, it's like I'm just there to watch and you know enjoy what I'm watching. That's pretty much it.
Facts. Facts. I'm not here to, you know, put my assumptions on things that I'm watching. Like honestly, like Fire Force has a lot of comedy in it. There's a place for the fan service. Konosuba especially. I think trying to judge something that is so obviously meant to be the way that it is so ridiculous because like you could be judging anything else about the show, you know? Like being upset that it has fan service is just ridiculous. Like you know, there's more serious things that you could be. If you want to go watch a sign-in, go watch a sign-in. You know,
Right.
like Bungo Stray Dogs basically has. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Bungo Stray Dogs has some fan service, but it's not like female fan service. It's actually male fan
It's like crying.
service.
It's like crying about, oh my god, why is there's fan service in Chainsaw Man? Oh my god, it's like, dude,
Like, dude,
like
yeah, that's like
I can't, I
it's
can't. I'm sorry. Like, and that's the thing too. Like,
it adds
you know,
to it. If there was no fan service, I'm not gonna lie, bro, it would be dry. Like there'd be
yeah,
some
I
dry
just like,
aspects of it. You know.
I don't know, man. It's an interesting it's an interesting topic. It's an interesting argument, and I think it's just one that like, I think there's just a lot of people that need to be like, if you don't like that, you probably need to think about what kinds of genre of anime you're watching because like and here's my thing with it. The last thing I'll say on it. It's okay, of course, to not like fan service, but to act like that fan service runs shows like by two instances of it happened, it's a terrible show. Like that's crazy talk, dude.
Yeah, it is crazy talk. People are obsessed with, their own perceptions being the final, objective statement. I don't know, dude.
Oh, of course. No,
Especially with Fire Force. But yeah.
yeah, I've seen. I actually have not watched Fire Force, but I have seen plenty of talk about the fan service aspects of that and how much people were like, "Oh my gosh, it ruined the show," and it's like, dude, I don't know, man.
It's
Not
very,
my. I
very
can't
good.
argue on it.
It's very, very good. I'm a big fan of Fire Force, honestly. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're here. We're going to talk about people.
That is what it is, but I think that'll probably do it for this episode of Weaponized. Thank you so much for tuning in, and definitely stay tuned for next week as we're gonna have mountains of information of Switch 2 to uncover.
Oh my God, yeah, it's going to be like all over
absolutely.
the channel.
But with that being said, thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time.